Right. Oh, beautiful. Welcome. Yes, first order of business is to look at the agenda, and everyone's got an info on it, so we don't have to worry about that. There was the whole board of trustees is here. Additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda. We'll provide one suggested addition here to have Megan review her attendance at the VLA conference this past weekend. That's wonderful. Were there any other additions?
Go ahead. No, you go first. Okay.
I was gonna suggest if we kind of run long, which we might, that we could, not do the appreciation potluck reflection. You know, just,
Okay.
I mean, I know it was great, but, I feel like we could end up going a couple hours here. So,
Good.
if we get to that point and we're doing really well, and
Okay, well,
that's all I'm saying. Let's try.
Do we have to vote on that?
Yeah.
Oh, we do.
Everything for addition,
Deletion.
additions, deletions, and changes, yes,
oh, we didn't vote.
not yet,
No.
but yeah, are there any others?
Sorry, I just took a bite. I'd like to suggest the executive session to talk about the board business, like how we as a board behave, or I don't know, get along as a team. I don't know how you would say that.
I think if we're gonna be talking about structure, we definitely need to have that in open session, because that is something that everyone in the community knows. But if
Or
there's,
did it also,
if there's a specific ask, because, oh, hey there's a sign-in sheet. There's only certain things you can go into executive session for. And, sorry, and that's by Vermont state statute.
part of that would be personnel. Part of that discussion would be personnel, which I believe we would not want to be in public.
Does it have something to do with, hey there, we've got a sign-in sheet right here. Does it have to do with any disciplinary measures, contracts, or payment?
Well, I wouldn't say disciplinary, but I think we could talk about behavior of trustees and how we behave toward each other, which I don't think we would want it to be in a public forum. So,
That's up for vote.
Okay, so. Interpersonal relationships.
interpersonal, yeah, something like that.
Okay, so.
Sorry, if you're, yeah, it'll have to be, yeah, personnel, because that's one of the,
Interpersonnel then. Personnel.
Okay, do we have any other suggested additions to the agenda? Okay, so we vote on these independently now? Okay, first one, giving a report, having Megan report out on the,
wait, I'm sorry, someone needs to make a motion, second, all in favor? Does
okay,
anyone want to make?
We have-
I so move. I'll second.
very good, okay, so now we can, all those in favor of having Megan report to the board, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
All of those opposed? Okay, that's adopted. The second, the reading or vote on the appreciation potluck reflection has been suggested. Do we have a motion for that?
Move. I
Hey
second.
there, we've got a sign-in sheet, thanks. I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Carry it.
Yeah.
And
I second.
so, all those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. All those opposed? Okay, that carries as well. And then finally, the discussion for executive session, discussion about interpersonal relationships, interpersonnel relationships, I guess I want to make that, if that's correct. Is there a motion on board there? Yeah.
No, I second. I second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Me.
Okay, all right. That motion carries. Okay. Well, I don't really know if we should, in what particular order we should do this, but, we do have, the minutes from April meeting. Do we want to?
Where would you like I know the executive session, where would you like to, put Megan, is that during the library director's report, or would you want her to do it right away so that she can?
If I may, would it be possible for Megan to go right now at the start of the meeting? Yeah, it was say as long as she'd like, because she's also a citizen of Toronto, so she's welcome here. Dave, I'm sorry, Megan.
I just want to say, they need to leave and pick up their.
But
Well, does everyone have difficulty with her going first? Okay, then
Yeah.
why don't we do that first then? Go ahead, Megan.
Okay. So, on Monday, Bridget and I attended the VLA Rooted in Community Conference. Rooted in Community was the title that they gave it. It's based around the gill feather turnip, I think. Yeah, which is a almost exclusive Vermont vegetable. Things to look up if you love turnips. But thank you so much for allowing me to go to this conference. It was my first ever conference that I've been to, so I was a little nervous, but I had a really good time. I had a great time talking to other librarians from around the state, and we did a lot of brainstorming for new ideas and what we can improve upon at the library. And I came away from it with a lot of good inspiration. So there were a bunch of different sessions throughout the day that you could choose to go to. I went to 4 of these. So the first one was book merchandising in public libraries, which provided an approach to displaying books in the library in sort of a more bookstore method. A session about DEI in public libraries and how we can continue to support underserved communities. A having difficult conversations with staff session, and the final session that I went to was the Golden Dome book presentation. Had a lot of great takeaways from those. The first one, book merchandising, was a really nice start to the day. I love working on our displays here at the library, and the presentation was run by Highgate Libraries Director Christine, who is one of the first people I met who has the same amount of enthusiasm for library displays as I do. So that was really nice to see. And it went over, like I said, displaying books in more of a bookstore method. And I think that we're doing really well here at the library with that. Over the last year or so while I've been working here, we've gotten a lot of new sort of front-facing displays for kids' books. We've got our sort of sideways ones for the new shelf. And we've also started updating our signage to be compliant with ADA's current standards. So that includes color contrast and fonts that are readable by everyone. So here's a couple of those. I may or may not have stolen this one from off the shelf. So hopefully people can find books A through DEL. Yeah, if you want to pass them around, that's fine. But yeah, so that was a really enjoyable one. The second session was DEI in libraries. And this was run by 2 school librarians from CVU High School. And the most important thing that came out of that, the sort of point that they were driving home the whole time, was that in the current times that we're in, we really need to make sure that our policies are really strong and are supporting everyone in our community, especially at-risk minority groups, because they're facing a lot more threats than necessarily expected this year. So it's really important that our library remains a safe and welcoming space for everybody. The third session was the difficult conversations with staff session. This is less to do with trustees. It was about having conversations with your staff. But it was just good to remind ourselves that we're doing this for the library. And they discussed grounding yourself. And though this is maybe a little bit silly, if everybody would like to take a deep breath with me, I think that would be nice. And then maybe I'll stop talking quite fast.
you're doing great.
Thank you. So, yeah, the other, big point was, clarity. Their big motto was clarity is kind. So, being clear with your, fellow staff members is a really important thing, to be. During the last session that I was at, was the Golden Dome Book Award session. It was presented by the Golden Dome Book Award Committee. And they presented descriptions of each nominee for this year's book. And after adding about half of these to my own personal reading list, I'm really excited to, start promoting that to our Tween Book Club. The committee just recently, updated their website, and so they have a bunch of new resources for each of the books, for all of the books, as well as, bookmarks, which are really big with our patrons. Kids come in, they're like, bookmark. So, we're excited to use the bookmark. I'm incredibly grateful to have attended this conference, and I can't wait, to implement these new ideas at the library.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you for
Thank
having me.
you.
Megan.
Thanks.
Well done.
So what was your favorite out of everything?
I probably display one. I
Yeah.
get so excited putting together the displays. I'm like, that's my favorite part, is switching those over.
Were there attendees that you already knew, or did you meet new people and swap?
Yeah, there were some people, my mom's laughing because, Maureen, who used to be a librarian here,
Mhm.
when I was a baby,
Oh,
she was there, and so she didn't recognize me at first, but I saw her, and yeah, we saw some other, Franklin County librarians as well as just librarians from everywhere, so, definitely didn't know it close to not even close to knowing everybody, but yeah, it was really nice.
great.
In your experience when working here, which are the people in our community that need additional help in order to access the resources that they want to need in the library?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think a big one, we actually did like a little, not workshop, but sort of a talk to your partner at the table thing during the, DEI one, and I was mentioning, we have a lot of patrons, who come in and are not necessarily sure how to use their like email or their Google account, so sort of computer literacy would be a great thing to, keep adding. And yeah, and I think that everyone else too, I just in my personal life, I see a lot of the LGBTQ community struggling, and I want them to have a space that feels safe.
Yeah.
And I think libraries tend to do that.
Good. I'm always fascinated because way back when I first got married, I used to manage a college bookstore, which is much different than a library, but the display issue is something that I'm fascinated.
Yeah, no, the display thing, it was really cool. We have a lot of books right now that we just got, so, gonna have to shift things around again soon, but yeah, the front-facing displays, they were talking about how people are just more likely to interact because though we always say, don't judge a book by its cover, it's exactly what everybody does when they're looking at books. So, that's what the covers are for, on physical books.
I've always admired your displays, by the way. So, good.
Thank you. I
Nice.
take pride in them.
I'm glad you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, good.
Well, I know you had mentioned in the DEI session that having really strong policies is important. So I'm hoping that as an employee and someone in our community, as we're getting our policies together, definitely take a peek, let us know if we're falling short of anything, because we definitely want your input.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, very cool.
Of course, we're going through the struggle now of becoming ADA compliant, so
Right.
that's really important that we
Right.
keep
Mhm.
all of that in mind.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's always a lot to keep in mind for sure.
yep. Yes. Well, great. Thank you.
Can you, before, are there any other, sorry, I see, just if you could, I know it's more of the library director's report, but if you want to give us a little report on how all of your programs are going with the Tween Book Club and things?
Yeah, well, today we just had, is that okay, Bridget?
Oh, yeah.
I assume so.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. We just had, as you may have seen walking in, our afternoon today was talking the sidewalk. So if you, need a little, I don't know, interesting thing to do after not that this isn't interesting, but, if you want to do a little hopscotch after the trustee meeting, hopscotch on the sidewalk, we've had a lot of fun with that. I think we'll do that one again. But craft afternoon is pretty well attended. We probably have like 4 regulars every week, and then usually there's a few extra people that come in. And we do something different every week, afternoon, yeah. So that one's really fun because it's sort of, we do a variety of things. Last week we did origami, which was a little more difficult, and then this week we did talk, which, you know, is sort of free form and really fun. Queen Book Club is also going great. We currently have, I think, 11 or 12
Wow.
kids. We've gotten a few more since I started doing it. Our next meeting will be June 4th. So if you know any tweens between the age of 9 and 13 who like graphic novels, they're welcome to join us.
Can I just insert, I think that the growth of Queen Book
Yeah,
Club is a testament to your skill and just, the energy that you put into that space. And, so I applaud you for that and thank you for doing that.
I think not to like, I don't know, it feels like
Toot your
bragging,
horn,
but,
Megan.
Toot your horn, yeah.
definitely being somebody who only recently turned 20, I still sort of like remember, not, no, anyway, no, not that any of you don't remember that. What I was trying to say is I feel like I'm, you know, more recently out of high school, so they, you know, look at me and yes, I'm an adult to them, but I'm like younger than their parents are, so I'm in like this weird range of adult where I'm like kind of still a cool kid, I hope. And so I think that sort of brings a different thing to the program than it would be if it was like a teacher or something, which would still be great, I'm sure. But yeah, I think that they enjoy having sort of a younger person who,
You are a cool kid.
I try to be a cool kid.
I just wanted to suggest, the Tween Club was written up in the messenger, maybe it's time to reach out to them for an update.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a great idea, Lori. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice. We're gonna miss that.
Well, we're hoping that will continue.
Yeah, we have
We're
plans.
we're working on that, so,
Excellent.
but.
Any other questions or comments for Megan?
I love your displays.
Thank you so much. I love doing them.
She knows I've gone up and said, oh, what's that?
They're great.
That's the point of them, right?
Yes, I know, I'm like, I want people to go, ooh, it's that. Distracted.
Okay, well, thank you. then.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Megan.
I'm going to go pick up my fish. But thank you again for having me. That's been really nice. Thank you for picking up your fish. You're welcome. You're welcome. Have a
All
good
right.
evening, everyone.
You too. Thanks, Megan. Well done.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So as for the second edition, I don't know if we need to make a decision about deleting the appreciation potluck.
Probably, yeah, we'll
Part-
figure it out once we get there.
Yeah, we'll see what time allows. In the executive session, I think we'll move back a bit. Any discussion about the minutes from the 4/16 library meeting?
I have a couple. Wherever it says retroactive, I think you talked about bonus pay, not retroactive pay.
Right, and I know I had explained this, in the very beginning of the, when we were doing additions, deletions, and changes in April 16th meeting, it was talked about the bonus in lieu of retro pay, which is why I had written that. I guess in a way, it should be mentioned as to why there's a bonus being given. So how would you like that to be written?
Well, I think we explain it under the treasurer's report,
Mhm.
why we were discussing it.
So
I
where,
think it's in a couple of different places, that's all. So under 5C, there is an explanation of why.
well, let's start with, number 2, the second bullet point. How would you like that to read?
Under additions.
Yes,
Oh, so
teachers when requested the
just
addition of,
replacing retroactive with bonus, that's all.
do you want to wait until we get to the treasurer's minutes to
Yeah, sure.
explain? Okay,
Yeah, if we're gonna go down and
Okay,
order here, that's fine.
all right. Any other discussions of the minutes from 4:16? I see, but not.
In order, or do we just want to jump around?
Let's maybe go in order. The third bullet under number 2, it's my recollection that we discussed the trustee's role, as the department head for, well, at the select board meeting last night, it was determined that the trustee's role is department head for budgetary items, and the director is the department head to run the library.
Well, I guess
So I just wanted to clarify that.
minutes are in real time, so we can't like add things or change things to what happened in the future. So
Okay.
in real time, you requested an executive session to talk about your role and head of department. So although later information came in real time, that's what was said.
Okay. I have something in number 4. If there's nothing before that. It's my recollection of the meeting that we were in agreement, or at least the majority was in agreement, that I was part of the policy committee. I don't know if we need to take a vote on that, because I think that there's some misunderstanding, or not everybody's on the same page about that.
I don't know if we need clarification. I know,
We do. It
Okay.
sounds like we have different interpretations of that.
Well, so it says, discussion ensued, right? But I think the determination was that I was part of the policy committee.
and I think the way that I had explained it to the group was we were talking just on the trustee side. So on the trustee side, when a committee is formed, there are certain rules and Robert's Rules of Order that we need to follow. So on the trustee side, it was for the policy committee, us, and we're working with you. So I guess if that's helpful.
No, it's not, because when the committee was formed, we were assigned to the committee equally.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess for the trustees, we have to follow certain rules and regulations to be a committee. We can't discuss with more than 3 or else it's a warned meeting.
But I'm not a trustee, so
Correct,
there are 2
right.
trustees
So
and
I
myself.
guess that's why I'm trying to explain this. Maybe I'm still
I'm not sure.
confusing it.
Yeah, so I think
Ultimately,
that,
when it comes to the policies, it's the trustees who are voting.
sure,
The trustees are
absolutely.
passing these changes. So we're working with you to help us with that.
Which puts her on the committee, which means that Bridget is on the committee.
Okay, but Bridget
If they're
doesn't have to
working together.
comply with any of the committee regulations that anybody on the trustees would have to follow.
Well, I also had a question about that Robert Rules of Order. I was reading about, that because it comes up a lot, and, according to the Vermont Department of Libraries, we don't need to follow them unless they're in our bylaws. So I went and looked in our bylaws and it's not there.
Right. And I know this is something, it's not officially adopted by the town of Georgia. However, every town meeting day, Carolyn Brannigan, who's our speaker for both the town and the school, lets everyone know that we follow. So it's not something that is voted upon. However, if we're not following Robert's rules, what rules are we following?
Well,
Because we can't just pick and choose
I
and
guess
make it
I-
up as we go.
I guess I would just argue that sometimes we don't need, it doesn't need to have, there doesn't need to be a rule to show that Bridget is on a committee, to show that we respect
Oh, absolutely.
that
And
Bridget is on a committee.
And
That-
there was no disrespect by saying that. I guess I'm being black and white when it comes to what the rules and regulations are. I mean, if you're being black and white, then yes, we have to follow certain things for a committee, and we're consulting with Bridget. If Bridget wants to say she's part of the committee, that's great, that's fine.
Did we vote on this, I wonder?
Whether or not you're on the committee.
Well, I guess I'm not clear about, are the rules precluding having the librarian be part of that committee.
No, but I know that, you know, for any select board committee, you know, when they form a committee, it's a committee because they have to follow those certain rules and regulations, and they consult with staff.
And final.
I'm sorry, that's
our board.
Hmm?
The final voting would be our board, any voting would be our board.
Well,
Yeah,
as a
I-
part of a committee, you're not, Bridget's not voting. She's just part of the committee, so come up with policy.
Yeah,
Right.
so I'm just saying at the end.
Okay, I don't want to violate any rules that might exist, but I also don't want to preclude having our librarian be part of a policy committee that affects her
I think that,
job.
yeah, I mean, I have quite a lot of experience mid-career as a librarian, and I think that I bring valuable information to the committee that, that it's without, as a layperson, looking at it as a trustee, I think that my input is valuable.
Nobody's saying it's not, I would say, I guess when it comes to like following a definition, we're following a definition. We're not saying that you're not respected. And from what I'm hearing, you feel like you're being discounted when all of your recommendations and all of your advice has been taken.
Thing that you
And you were part of the committee, whether it be in person or through paperwork. So I guess in a way, I'm wondering why we're splitting hairs here. If it's important to you to say that you are part of this committee, that's fine. I guess it just, when it comes to the definition of a trustee or a select, a voted in body of persons, it's just a different definition. It's not less than, if that makes any sense.
There may be times where we don't agree, and that's okay, you know, because not everyone's gonna totally agree on everything. But the end being would be whatever the total board votes for any policy or whatever. I mean,
If there's disagreement about what goes into the policy, whether, whether it's Bridget disagreeing or you disagreeing, I would assume both sides of that would be brought to the full trustee board so that we could
Right.
vote on it, whether
Oh,
the
absolutely.
use of a word or a
Okay.
phrase or a
And-
certain policy.
When we get to the policies, you'll see that every change has been read and underlined. There has been nothing, everything is very transparent as to what is currently there versus what was changed. And even more so, you can just go on the website and compare it to that document to show anything in red is what has been changed. So transparency is really key here. And of course, in comparison even to the notes that Bridget had given us, that those changes have also been taken into consideration for our, we'll get to we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Mhm.
But I guess I'm kind of curious now as to why this is such an issue.
I think the perception is that not having the librarian identified as part of the policy committee feels like an exclusion or a discounting of the staff's role. I think, now maybe I'm misstating that, but if there's a way that we can do it without abrogating what the trustee's role is, which is the overall oversight of the library, I would prefer to have the librarian be, a standing part of that committee. It doesn't sound like that would be against the rules, does it?
No, but right now we are talking about minutes, so how would we like number 4 to read? Or we can delete it
I think-
entirely and move on.
Well, no, it happened, but we discussed it, so we really can't delete it.
well, so circling back, I think that what I said at the start of bringing this up was, that my recollection of our conversation at the last meeting was that
That it was
it's not
decided.
everyone, but yeah, it was decided that I was part of the committee.
I know that Craig was the one who initially, it was brought to you, you named the committee. How about we put it on Craig to say,
Well, I think let's make that a board decision in terms of voting, how we want this worded and what my intent. I mean, this is myself personally, but I want to bring this to a vote, is to have the librarian be part of the policy committee. But if that's not acceptable, then let's.
Can I ask a question, just because,
Mhm.
like I said, I'm new to a lot of the stuff.
Everyone.
For the select board,
Mhm.
do they have the town administrator in on the committee meetings?
I don't
know
if there are parallel situations.
They're both non-advisory board committees, or non-advisory boards.
I can answer that question, the budget committee is officially called. I do talk to them, but I am not a member of their committee because I am not on the select board.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Kelly, I know you're on this one, you should be talking with you too.
Yeah, so,
I'm just on this.
I know.
do you know the answer to that?
Say it again, what is your question?
Well, does the select board have like the town administrator in on the committee meetings and then?
Yeah, we receive input from everybody
Mhm.
when we're reviewing policies and that sort of thing, so yeah. So I think the committee is the group of people of the board, but we look to everyone to gather the information because we don't have, the treasurer has the information that certain things we might, need, so I think what you're trying to do here is have a committee, but you're also having the director be a part of it because she's the one who understands the input at everything that happens at the library. So whether she's named as a member, I think you need to keep your committee as a trustee, but you get input from everyone. So you invite Bridget to meetings, you invite whoever to get that information.
Absolutely.
I'm not totally comfortable with that. I really think that the librarian should definitely be a part, not just invited, but a central part of it. And that, I guess that's just me personally, because it's about the library. She's hired to be a part of the library, administrating the library and implementing the policies that we agree to. And why wouldn't she? I think she should be a part of the policy committee. And to think even in implying that she doesn't need to be there is false.
I don't think anyone's implying she doesn't need to be there. I think we're using the definition, the definition for a committee for a non-advisory board. We're not doing, it's not personal. This is just definition, and we're really splitting hairs here. So in the effort of time, I say we move on.
Well, we haven't resolved anything.
Well,
But we're not, I
I
don't
know-
know, this is where, if we resolve it here, or do we have to resolve it in another place? This is mostly, this meeting or this discussion is about the trust.
you know, we're in minutes, still that we're in minutes. So I
Right,
want to
so
bring
you
it
guys-
back, and I want to just say that it was Volatile Wood, sorry, who formed the committee. So if he can just let us know who's on that committee, we can move on.
Okay. Well, I would say we would have the current board members and the librarian be part of that committee.
Okay.
That would be my preference. But I'm happy to put that to a vote. I don't want that to be a built-in.
You're the chair.
Chair, fine.
We definitely.
Well, okay, I guess that's
And
what
that's
I'll do.
Anybody would like, I do have the cheat sheet of Robert's rules with me here today, so we can look up anything that we need.
And I'll be the first to admit, I'm not an expert in Robert's Rules of Order. I just want to make this board and the librarian work efficiently and working together. And I would want her to be a part of the policy committee. So if that's a violation of rules, I apologize. Okay, was there, yeah, ready to move on here?
Under treasurer's report, again, replace retroactive with bonus.
Mhm.
And I'm also not sure what the importance is of the last two bullets under 5C.
And that, yeah, and I know, third bullet down is, I let everyone know at the meeting that no other staff member, was receiving this in the town of Georgia. And that could cause a problem. based on if a certain department is getting a bonus in lieu of retroactive pay. It could be brought up in select board, it can be brought up in the fire station, it can be brought up in other meetings. So I think that's relevant.
Yeah.
It's a relevant discussion.
Okay. Under motion to approve, it should be a motion to approve a total of $1,621 in bonuses for all of the GPO employees.
I'm sorry, you said 1,600?
Actually, it's a different number now.
Yeah,
Less.
I was gonna say, yeah,
But
you,
this is what was discussed,
Right.
so we can't change that.
okay.
Like
The motion to
$40
approve
less.
a total of 1,621 bonuses for all GPL employees in lieu of retroactive raise.
Okay. I'm done with that part.
So do we have to reschedule the way it was done? And we have to re-vote?
That's it.
Does that stay
Yeah.
like that? Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's
I
what
put it in
happened.
Okay.
in the agenda. Any other changes to minutes?
Yes.
Okay,
So I would like to echo what Nicole mentioned earlier regarding Robert's Rules of Order. I also did some research on that and found the same information, so I wanna accentuate what she said again. And I think that it's nice to have a framework of rules to work within. I think if it gets in the way of common sense and reason and flow, then it's not helpful, and we don't need to be lost into something that's not effective.
I'm sorry, I disagree. I think Robert's Rules of Order is something that can really help a board to maintain the flow and to maintain order. And when there are questions such as how do we rescind, there was really no other avenue. There was really no other source that we could go to see how we do this properly.
Then
And
it
I,
should be included in our bylaw.
Yes.
I agree.
with that.
We can definitely go ahead and change that for sure.
Mhm.
I guess when it comes to any decisions that we make, if we don't make them properly, they're not made. Somebody can later go back and say, well, this wasn't done properly, so we can't do it. And so that includes any kind of decisions made in executive session that aren't made in motion afterwards. We can't go back and say, well, the trustees agreed, because it's not in the minutes. So that's why I'm so fussy about the minutes, is because if it's not in the minutes, it didn't happen. And that's why all of the motions, all of the people, all of the subjects, the agenda items always go into the minutes. Because in a year from now, when we say, who voted yay and nay, how many people, what are we doing, how much, when, things of that nature, if it's not in the minutes, it didn't happen. So I know that this was a delay for the staff at the GPL. However, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right.
It's unfortunate because that was a unanimous vote, and I apologize to you all that I forgot to recuse myself. So that was our mistake, held off.
We all made the same mistake.
And acknowledging how important it is that we get the minutes right, I did notice that the minutes from March are still posted as a draft without the corrections that we made on them on the town website. Oh, yeah. Moving on, 6, the second bullet point, my vacation is gonna be June 22nd through July 10th, and I recommend that we
We
can
can
get
do
the
that.
last one.
We can change that in these. This was what was reported at the time. So in the new minutes, we can report the correct minutes. I'm sorry, but what is it that you would want removed from that?
The last sentence, please.
That the GPL will be covered by additional staff during this time?
I think it's,
It's not really additional staff. You're not hiring anybody additional. Bringing staff.
and of course, the library will be covered well. Third,
I'm sorry, for March?
No, for the vacation.
No, I
it's
don't,
the
I meant.
March-
Oh,
March
you're going
minutes.
back.
final
sorry.
draft.
Yeah.
No.
You're trying to do 2 things at once.
I'm usually doing 8 things at once, so.
the third point in number 6, it's a cataloging thing.
Okay.
Under old business, the bullet point, it's my recollection of our conversation in that discussion that trustees agreed that Bridget should be included on emails. I wonder if we need to take a vote on that point.
I don't know if there, no, yeah, I don't think that there ever came to a conclusion. We definitely discussed that for a very long time. And I seem to remember,
Is there any
We didn't vote on
discussion
it.
about that?
No, we did not vote on it, but I wonder if we do need to vote on it so that there's clarity and we're all on the same page about it.
I'm sorry, but I 100% disagree. If I want to reach out to a source as a trustee, I do not need your permission or CCing you, I'm sorry, from a library director or any of the staff on my communications.
I think it's just, it's not that you have to, I think
No.
it's just me, I think it's just a,
But I think if there's a
Sure.
vote being made, then it's essentially we are holden to, in the
Yeah,
future,
yeah.
having to CC any of our communications.
Yeah.
And I think it really gives us, it leashes us as trustees.
And
I mean,
think
that's
it
why
only
the
came
public
up-
votes us
And I
in.
think it only came up because we were talking about policy, the policy committee and questions about the policy committee. So we were talking about CCing Bridget on emails that had to do with the policy committee. I think that's what it was.
It's a matter
It
of
wasn't-
transparency. I mean, it allows us all to be on the same page and have the same information to work from.
Yeah, although I do agree that if you're reaching out to, if we as trustees are reaching out for a question that has nothing to do with you or the policy committee or a committee that you're on, like maybe I'm reaching out to ask about, I don't know, what it means to be a trustee or whatever, you know?
Yeah, right. I think it speaks to, a need for improved communication
Yeah.
and,
I don't know if there's a way to limit the focus of such an obligation. I mean, if
Right.
it related to policy, I could see you being CC'd to it, but any other communication, I don't know how you would do that. I don't know how you would do that.
And I think I should be trusted as a trustee who's voted in, that if I have communication and I'm getting information, I'm sharing it and I'm sharing the correct information. So I really don't think this is an issue.
Yeah, I'm not putting all the focus on you. I'm thinking
No.
to myself, if I'm, if I'm communicating, do I CC it to everybody?
No.
Or, but specific types of communication, I should CC to Bridget. She should be involved. But I don't know how we,
I also think it's my recollection that the discussion came up because Bridget had asked to be CC'd.
it was agreed that you would,
I don't-
and then you didn't.
I'm sorry, I did not agree.
Hmm.
I let you know that I will gather my information and share as I see fit.
is there a way we can frame that in a way that any kind of policy related issues are CC'd? I don't know if we can do that.
I think that we really need a deep discussion about communication and roles and respect and responsibilities and, it's all part and parcel of that. I think if we really focus on what is in the best interest of the library,
Mhm.
that really helps form solid positions.
Yep, and that's part of a greater discussion that I think needs to be had. Part of what Nicole brought up. Yeah, we need that. But I don't know if we can take a vote on that right yet.
Well, we're still in minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. The minutes.
I don't know if we talked about it, but under old business and the DPL building revitalization committee, can you name? I'm pretty sure we said who was on it, but can you say that Deb, Terry and Bridget are?
Well, it's not just Deb, Terry, and Bridget.
Well, it's Paul.
Right.
From the library.
Is there further discussion about that?
I think that, that's
That's a minute.
one of the things.
Okay.
It's, I don't know, it's good information to know who's on it.
Yeah,
Yep.
And that could go back to future people
Yeah.
wanting to know what
Right.
happened in the revitalization committee, talking to Deb or you or Bridget.
Any other changes?
No.
Well, and I know this has been mentioned a few times in other meetings before. I work really hard on the minutes. I know that it takes a lot of work, not just to capture the moment, but also to make sure that it's being done correctly and according to open meeting laws. And I really wish that we wouldn't spend so much time on it in the future. How about we go through our changes and then discussion can be added to the agenda as needed?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so is there a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
So moved.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, guess we all approve minutes. Okay, moving on. President's report? Yeah.
Did you all bring what I sent? Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
did you send something?
Yeah.
When?
Yesterday.
I didn't receive anything.
I didn't know that I read it. No,
I don't think I would not either.
Silly.
Would it be possible to get a copy?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Copies. How many?
So we need three.
Gary?
Can you double check on the addresses that, I'm sorry, while you were copying?
All the addresses that I have, anyway.
Is it taken through at Town of Georgia?
Well, I don't think anyone got it.
Oh,
You got it.
Well, she just gave me a copy.
Oh, so I don't, I just think she did it.
okay.
And we've got these new Town of Georgia email addresses, we should have all got one there.
And you are getting emails, right?
I am now.
Okay, good.
We weren't getting them.
Well, I wasn't this past weekend because I was
Right.
away.
Right. Thank you.
I think
Well, I was gonna ask you if you had any questions. I won't do that. What can I say? Percentage of the year is 33%, and remainder is about 67%. We're well within that area. We had some other income, interest donations, a damaged book repayment, so as we did with the last one, I added it to adult books just to make everything.
Yeah, I think that's what we agreed upon.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if I had to ask you again.
Mm.
I don't know what else I can say. We have a new library postage category. I don't think we had that last time. Just to keep track, oh, maybe we did, but just to keep track of actual cost of books, not including any postage.
Mhm.
That makes sense. Because that might go up.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah, for sure. Cost of the books minus the postage.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is actually ignorant, but interlibrary loan is paid through this fiscal year, right?
The state fiscal year ends June 30th.
That's what that's about,
Okay.
really.
Okay.
So on the bottom with the $350 donation, that was specified for summer reading program, is that correct?
Oh, I don't remember.
Yes.
Was it? Oh, I'll move that.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll move that to.
That's all right.
Or educational, okay. That's it. I don't know if you have any questions.
I think one one kind of, thing rolling around in my head, and this, you know, can come to, we can wait until maybe we hear some information on the grants and things like that, but I think first and foremost, and I love that we can have a lot of money for books and programming. I'm just wondering how we can get Hoopla back, I guess, in the end, like, what can we, because I think
Well-
that's come down to a lot of people in the community really saw the value in that and are feeling hit by that, and, yeah.
I think there's a little concern about the safety of Hoopla. and-
Yeah, so Hoopla, was, did not preserve people's privacy in the way that they should have. There are also new products that are available that other libraries are using in place of Hoopla. And I will tell you that I'm really hopeful we get these grants because I'm struggling with the budget for children's and adult books this year. We are really,
So is there like the new Hoopla, if there's like something that's shining forth at, well, okay, we can wait till the library director's report.
we're talking about the treasurer's one right now.
Sorry.
What is the cost of, well, Hoopla, the privacy thing was an issue, but what's the cost of?
Well, it's based on usage.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And, you know, I'll also say I'm not prepared to discuss that, like, I haven't done the research on it
Okay.
right yet, so we could, let me know if you'd like to talk about those things, I'll be sure to have the research for you.
I have no questions on the report.
Okay. You're welcome.
Move to accept it.
I don't know that we do we?
No, we're not making changes.
Okay.
All right, so we, motion for, sounds like we have, there enough, yeah, we don't need to, okay.
Set of options, but-
Not changing anything.
Okay.
Well,
We do have to do a staff bonus revote.
Okay, so,
I'm gonna sit on my hands and keep my mouth. No, not your hands, it was your.
all right, so, discussion before a vote, then, I know we presented this to the select board as a bonus as opposed to a retroactive pay thing. And I wasn't at the meeting last night, so,
It wasn't looked on favorably,
okay,
but I think if we began this and we didn't do it correctly, we should do it correctly. So. I would move that we would approve the staff bonuses be somewhat less than what we have in our budget. We just have a number, like $49 less.
Do we want to say, what is that, 16, oh, no.
No, hold on.
Let's get the real number and we'll have it on record.
1583.97. Okay, so I move that we have a staff bonus and tell this town what we need for each person as a bonus.
we have a motion.
Anybody second? Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
that's your job.
That's fine,
I'll second.
okay. All those approved, say aye.
Aye.
All those
Any
opposed,
discussion?
Any opposed?
thank you, I didn't know for any discussion, yes.
I do,
Okay.
I hope that this can be avoided somehow next time, because
Well, there was
it
no,
put us in
yeah.
a bad position.
there was no warning that this was gonna happen, so we didn't take that into consideration when we built the budget for salaries, but knowing that until April 1st, we're gonna be based on this current year's salary numbers, you can interpolate something that will be closer to what you decide to give us raises. But at this point, they wouldn't be getting the raise that they were promised within the year.
And I think, yeah, that's something, I know that you went out of your way to ask the town administrator if this was going to be happening, so expectations were put in place for that. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, with everybody else not getting it, it does put the library, it kind of puts us in a position, different than the other departments.
I also want to note, at the meeting last night, there were areas that are different between different town departments. So, you know, while we strive to have equity and parity across the board with all the town departments, it's a nice thing to strive for, but I think that perhaps there are natural variations, among the departments.
And again, it won't happen again, because we know that it's we know we have to build that in the budget as an April 1st.
Yeah.
Increase.
I guess that's true, yeah, we can recognize that different departments, so we can't put the library in comparison to all of the other departments, just because they're so different.
Oops.
Any further discussion? That's all I was gonna ask. So, before we vote.
Nope.
Okay, all those in favor? We did have a
We are
second,
in
right?
favor.
Yes.
Okay,
So if it passes.
all right, I don't have anything else.
Okay. Library direction.
Can I'm sorry,
Yeah.
can I address the crowd?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if anybody was specifically waiting for any topic, if we're okay to go forward with old business, if we want to move new business up. Does anyone have a preference? I know, I didn't think about it now, but okay. Do your thing. Yeah, but go ahead. We do, yeah, but it's not until 8, and I'm realizing now, yeah, we might want to move
right.
that up in the future.
Do we want to move public comment for now? Are there folks who'd like,
Do you want to have a moment? No? Oh, okay.
I have a, yeah, I just have some people that I wanted. The policies, and excuse me, I watched the past meetings via video, but, are you all working on, an updated policy for the, new, law that was passed about, like, the library, having the privacy law, sorry.
yeah,
So that the 12, okay,
Yeah,
that's
actually,
hard
actually,
Yeah, that was the catalyst kind of for change, was making sure that we put those model policies by the Vermont Department of Libraries into our policy by the July 1st deadline.
Okay.
So, yeah,
And is the collection development policy also going to be reviewed?
so I believe, yeah, and I'm sure you know, working in a library, both, the privacy and the collection development, the Department of Libraries can provide model policy
Yeah.
for us. So we can just kind of,
Go on.
yeah.
That's good. Perfect. And then, the other question that I had was, so is, on the website, it says the policies haven't been updated since 2016. Is that correct, that the policies haven't, or is that a reflection on the website haven't been?
so the policies have been updated since 2016. However, they were not updated on the website since 2016, and I think that, things weren't tracked as closely as they might have been in terms of policies that were amended and updated. So, so we're working on it.
Who is, the responsibility of the website on? I use the website for a lot of things, I don't have social media, so, and like, today, as I was trying to get to know all of you a little bit, the bios were not correct, there were people on there from before, and,
Today?
no, not today.
Oh,
When, before, when I
Okay, because
talked to you.
we fixed that.
Yes, you did, it was great. But I was just saying, do you have someone in place that is in charge of, reviewing the trustee portion of the website? And do you have someone in charge of, the library portion of the website?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I think I've spoken to this before. I think what we need to do is set up a procedure for how we update the policies on the website once they're done. And I think that the best way of doing this is to maintain a paper trail of the policies, maintain that in a binder, right, as the Bible, right, if you will, of the policies, and to also update it on the website so that there's some, duplication there and it's not just in one place.
You could even have it scan in the paper. I
Right.
think that, as far as, I feel like it's better for it to be up to date than for it to like go and get looking there, but that was nice and easy.
And is the same person who updates it for the library business also updating the trustee portion?
No, I think that we should discuss that in some
Mhm.
detail. I think that I personally would love to see something where I believe it's the secretary's responsibility to maintain, updated
Right.
policies once they're, in place.
Yeah.
So
But
I
if the
would
public
like.
can't find them on the website, then you're
Sorry, I
really.
wasn't done talking yet. I think it would be helpful if the secretary and the director and perhaps another person from the trustees were together when that was updated on the website so that we can all ensure that there are checks and balances to make sure that it's done correctly.
Mhm.
And I have to say, I did not know,
Yeah.
being a board member, you know, how that is what's happening. I thought it was all Bridget putting
Yeah,
stuff up.
absolutely.
I did not know, so,
Yeah.
thank you for
Well,
bringing that up.
for those who don't know, I'm sorry, I used to work here. And I didn't know, like, whose job that was too, so I think that's important. And I think when I worked here, the link was broken, so at least the policies are there. But, and I just wanted to also say, have you all reached out to other libraries in the area, or other libraries in Vermont, or the ALA, for recommendations about, who's using Robert's rules? Are there alternatives, and adopting something? Because I love that. I think that finding a common way to, run the meetings is really important, because that will really give you that, continuity between boards, and the expectations are there. And as a new board member, to go in and not have something to study, not like, no, kind of like, you're just throwing darts. I just know, like, my husband is on, the water committee board, and having the Roberts rules was really important, because then he could study up, and he felt ready to, and did research what that kind of looks like. And I think there are alternatives to Roberts rules as well that are great too, but it would be nice to have something and to put that in the bylaws, which I think is kind of what the discussion do, but I would just like to plug for that too, because I think that can be really helpful in having a place to go back to and know how to proceed with it. And then and reaching out to other libraries too, because I think that it will be nice you have this great resource of the ALA and of other boards at other libraries to find out, are they seeking the director on emails? Is it all emails? Is it certain emails? Are they running the meeting? Are most of them using Robert rules? Is there something else? I just think that could be helpful, because sometimes it could feel like an awful lot if I were in your all shoes, so like how to reinvent the wheel, when I think that there are some really great boards that are out there that kind of have that might have that, and nobody loves to help each other like librarians. So, but anyway, and I also just wanted to say that in reviewing the policy, so maybe this can be made note, I did notice that the language in the policy, the current policies, is she. And I think it would be great to either include they, but even past that, maybe take pronouns out of it completely, because pronouns are evolving all the time and changing, and so if you just use the word patron in place of that, I think that would be nice. So that's just something that.
Thank you.
Good point.
Yeah,
I have suggestions for that.
yeah.
By the way, you work in another library,
I
they
do.
use another, system of, rules,
That's a good question. I'm pretty sure they use Robert's rules, but I would have to check on that. I did just watch a couple of their meetings in anticipation of them, if you want to fill them, you have things. I'm pretty sure they go by, they definitely go by something, so,
good suggestion.
but I can find it.
Like to also second that and, note that I worked for 10 years in a sub-regional library. And we use, library trustees, use Robert's Rules of Order for everything.
Yeah.
It's really, there are other things out there, but it's pretty standard.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, really something that's necessary. You know, one way or another.
Yeah, I don't know if you have the financial capacity. I know you guys are very strapped to the library with the budget, but maybe to look at in the next few years coming budget, how do we build in having someone come in and do a training for oncoming board members? Whether it's about Robert's rules or it's just about, someone from the ALA. I think that it can be really overwhelming, and I'm so grateful that you all popped into this because it's so important. And and sometimes it feels like you're doing so much to try to just figure out how everything's working, but it's hard to also then pull in other things. Thank you for.
Thank you.
allowing me to- yeah.
Good feedback. Thank you all. And by the way, thank you, Colleen. Tell who we are, the biggest resource on Robert's Rules of Order. So I do want to thank you.
Anytime.
Okay. So now on to the library director's report.
So, personnel, we have hired a sub for the summer. He is working Tuesday, Wednesday through August 18th. He was here last summer, getting rave reviews already. So that's great. I had a patron who was just delighted with how he helped her this afternoon. So
I'm sorry, what's the title?
he is a library substitute.
Okay.
What's his name? I guess it's okay to put that in the minutes. Quinn Lino.
Yeah. People not fun usually.
I was just gonna say, he was there.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah.
Hmm?
Facilities, we had wasps in the ceiling last week. Yeah, I heard staff were sitting at the desk and there was a wasp, and so they dealt with the wasp, and then they watched another wasp fly out of the ceiling. And so I called Public Works, and I cannot say enough nice things about them. They were here within 10 minutes, and there was a hole from the outside into the ductwork in the ceiling, and then a hole from the ceiling tile surrounding the ductwork into the library. So they blocked both holes, and I'm hoping that's adequate, and I'm hoping that there was no waspy construction in the ceiling, and that maybe despite the holes being blocked, things have taken. So yeah, that was our excitement for facilities last. Yeah, programs, I'm eagerly awaiting grant notifications. The Building Bright Futures grant will be notifying us in late May, and the United Way grant will be notifying us the week of June 9th. I placed and received a large book order, very exciting. I'm trying to get them all cataloged and out. There's a lot of stuff, including the Golden Dome, Red Clover, and Green Mountain Book Award books. I attended the Vermont Library Association conference on Monday with Megan. It was wonderful. I attended sessions on AI, book marketing, and difficult conversations. I also connected with two vendors in particular one, who designs library interiors, who would be happy to come and do a free interior design consultation for us. And also with Phoenix Books, our local independent bookstore. And Phoenix sounds like a viable option to source our book purchases, which I would love.
Nice.
Their pricing at first glance, like verbal conversation, sounds like it's competitive, and I would love to be spending money there. I also think that it would streamline the invoicing process, which I am not looking forward to with this last book order. My apologies.
You gotta break it out.
I really like the idea. Phoenix Books has been doing a lot of outreach into schools and things. So I would really like to support them, to let them know that they are a prize here. in town.
Absolutely. Mhm.
That would be wonderful.
Wouldn't it be
Because
wonderful?
then you, like, it'd be almost like they're being a
Yeah.
partner here and.
I feel like,
Say.
you know,
All
it's,
of us.
and, you know, quite honestly, there are two major book shoppers, Ingram and Baker and Taylor, and the consensus is that folks are having a tough time getting their books sourced. And that there's not a good alternative. So I would love it if, you know, Vermont libraries could support our local independent bookstores. Like, it would be a huge shot in the arm for them, and it just feels good. So hoping that that all works out favorably. Also, I was at a graduation party over the weekend and happened to meet and network with a pediatric dental hygienist for the Vermont Department of Health. I have introduced her to our WIC liaison, who, as you may recall, I interviewed the WIC liaison about community needs for the grant that I wrote for the United Way, and she said that WIC clients consistently identify lack of access to pediatric dental health as a concern. So I have been trying to, like, I thought, oh, we can get a hygienist in to bring toothbrushes and talk about brushing your teeth. So I met this woman and she's like, I can do better than that. So she marches in parades as the tooth fairy, and also, she mentioned that she can apply fluoride remotely, and, she's got a whole lot of resources that she could bring. So anyhow, I'm so excited about that. Like, that feels like listening to community needs and responding effectively to them. So I'm really, really, really excited to help that come together.
Quick question, would this be under the, or in cooperation with the WIC program?
Yes.
Okay.
Yay.
Just
Yeah.
making sure. The first thing I thought of was liability when it comes to someone working directly with, you know, the youth, applying, you know, anything. So long as they have their own insurance and, or
It's
under the WIC.
State,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, well, that's
State
good.
Department of
Great.
Health.
Yay.
Yeah, it is exciting. That's all I've got.
Okay, were there any questions or any discussion about?
I'm gonna just ask again, how's it going with the staffing and paying staffing? The budget, do we have, because how many people do you have now? With
So
healthcare
thanks, staff,
and
Quinn.
right, but you know, in
Oh.
July, you're losing a staff member that obviously makes more than people have, you know, she's at a higher level. Right, so that's 6 months of not making. And but 6 months of people under that level. So I think we're gonna be fine. I mean, I haven't done the calculations because we just hired this person, but we're gonna be fine.
We can
We're
make
only
that,
we just have to make sure we make it through the end of the year. We have 72% of the money left in our library salaries budget, so we're ahead by about 5%.
awesome. Is that something, I know that, the quarterly reports kind of, is that something that can be addressed in maybe the quarterly reports,
In
come
June,
June
Right.
of how we're doing or how we're projected. just to make sure that we're not over, awesome. Yeah.
I had another question, just because, again, being new to some of this. How does what is the hiring process? So, it is my understanding that hiring, evaluating, supervising staff is my responsibility as the library director. I interview staff, interview folks, and choose the best candidate for the time. Do you post it in the newspapers or? Not necessarily, honestly. We have not had, the folks that we've hired from posting jobs in the newspaper haven't worked out as well as folks who I've known in the community, and just through word of mouth and knowing them as patrons of the library.
You had a question.
Is that the kind of, I mean, can you do that though with public, like, don't you have to open it up
Because
to the public?
because it's a municipal library, do we need to follow a certain
Well,
organ?
That's-
I don't know the
that's-
answer, but I understand what you're asking,
No.
yeah.
You don't.
I mean, how did you do it at the level of the office?
Oh, it has to go out, and it has to go out into a number of places and be out for a while.
Yeah, I think that's the general rule. I will say, when I was hired, I learned about it from Force Forum. So I know you guys posted
Yeah.
Force Forum and, your own Facebook, but yeah, I would look into that, because I do think it has to be posted to a certain number of places for a certain length. In order to like move, and then you can do the interviews and do the hiring as.
Right, I think that like Fair Hiring Act or some kind of fair hiring standard is coming to mind, yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd also looked at questions, another thing, you do background checks for employees, like the other
They
thing.
are not required. Oh, that concerns me.
That's-
We don't have money in the budget for something like that. That's not inexpensive.
No.
Does the town
No, it's-
require background checks of their employees? No?
They didn't do what I mean.
That's interesting.
Well, now there's.
I'm not saying leave the library after that, but it's interesting that they don't require it.
It with insurance, because they're working with children too. How do you know if somebody's
Supervised work.
right?
That's true, they are supervised, but in your case, when you're away on vacation, they won't be.
Well, there'll be more than
They-
one person here.
I know they do. We have the door open, I mean,
There's also many times that they're, sorry, that you're here by yourself. So, I don't know how expensive that is, but I know most places do a background. I'm surprised that some do.
yeah.
I am too, candidly, and I'm.
I'll ask the church folks.
Yeah, I
I
don't.
mean, they don't have to. With anyone working with children,
Mm.
I would think should have a background check as an.
Not trying to add the name to your
insurance.
job,
No,
but that's something that
No,
does
but,
surprise
yeah.
me. That-
Well, we can take, I mean, we can certainly figure out what the rule is. but-
Well,
but
you're not, yeah.
Also, when children are here, they are supervised by their parents.
But we do have a
Right.
vulnerable persons
I-
policy now
yeah,
that states 8 and up can be.
I had to
Right.
go through this when I volunteered at the school. I know it costs like $50 to go through the sheriff's office to get an NCIC check. If we need to add that to the budget, I don't know, but if the town doesn't require it, why should we?
Everyone's responsible. We get it food.
And also, I would say there should be oh, it's never been done, so we'll just keep doing it, is I think that the town should also be doing it. So,
Yeah.
to take that step to then show them, like, and I would say that the town is never alone with children, whereas there
The
are
library staff is.
many instances where you're alone,
Yeah.
with children and alone with adults and.
And we shouldn't be alone in the library,
Well,
like, there
yeah,
should,
that
like, the
should-
library should not be
staff
solo
enough, yeah.
staff, we should have adequate staffing.
Can I suggest I'll look into it, maybe? See what I can find out.
If we were to offer that, I know it would go through the sheriff's office.
Well,
Right.
there's different levels of
What we
background
can.
checks, because, people who are recent, my students' parents have to go through a background check to, but they don't have to be fingerprinted.
our central office does a thorough record review with just their name and social security number.
Which a lot of times is.
Which is probably
nothing.
much cheaper than.
Right,
a
but it always
$50.
goes, you know, they didn't pay their mortgage or is
Well,
it, no,
it's not, it shows enough that there are parents who are not allowed to travel,
Okay.
or not allowed to drive,
So
or
it's
not
that
allowed
level,
to,
it's
yeah,
the next level up.
yeah.
Okay.
So the school might have more information
Oh, yeah,
about
that's what I was
that.
thinking. Right. So no problem.
Yeah,
That'd be-
or the central, call the central office even,
Thanks.
Yeah,
That'd
because
be-
that's where it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are different levels, in other words.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a decision we're gonna make tonight.
No.
No.
That's something for future policy.
Yeah.
Then you
Put it in the notes for
Yeah.
here, we'll look into it.
Whole business all the time.
Uh,
Okay.
And
And then once we know, we can put it into policies and stuff like that if it gets approved or not.
and just a general question, Valerie, at your library, do they do background checks?
They do, our
They do.
budget is much lower, so.
Yeah.
I would hate
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
But I do, there is. This is the first job I had worked that I didn't have a background check.
Okay.
And I did a lot of schools, but even I did, like medical offices where there were.
Not that we wanna add the cost, but it is something in terms of liability that we may wanna consider.
We can't even know what the cost would be because we don't know how many people you have,
Right.
I don't hire any yet.
At one.
And then do we do them for volunteers also and, right, it gets the
Ooh.
trustees.
I think, yeah,
think we
definitely,
have
it's a
to.
volunteer who does the
Especially
children's,
volunteer, you just don't know where it's coming
programs.
from possibly.
Yeah.
I would definitely make sure, yeah.
I just have to check with your insurance
Yeah.
to see what would be required.
Or it's your insurance.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right?
Oh, back to safety.
You have a-
You think.
Oh, no, I need one more thing, right?
That has a vested
Yeah.
interest to make sure that we're not
Right.
liable.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because I
Okay.
also know in like, for example, the summer camp that I worked before I was background check, volunteers did not because, but they were also never allowed to be alone.
Right,
So you can
Right.
have that too. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden you have to give everyone.
Yeah.
It's just that, whomever does not have that contact, you have to make sure it isn't alone.
you got paired with that.
And not legally, but
Okay.
to save
So-
yourself.
Wait, yeah.
That was,
And
okay,
also-
all right, thank you.
Great. You have to keep in mind too, that, you know, the cost of $200 a person
Yep.
versus the liability of one single case.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's junk. Yep, agreed. Okay, well, in the response. But better to talk about it now than after. Okay, so, is there anything, old business? Let's see, is there a report on the building revitalization committee update?
We met with Viv, who did the, original 2018, review of the library with, pages of things that needed to be taken care of, and they.
So you said those,
VIS.
oh, VIS.
Yes.
Thanks for, and for the notes, okay, we'll figure that out later.
In fact, but I can let you know.
Okay,
I'm gonna guess Vermont,
Yeah.
that's where it is.
maybe services.
And they finally came back, yesterday with a quote for their services to just go forward. And that was about $127,000. Then Paul is gonna, I just sent another guy that, Paul has identified as somebody else he wants to have come in and give us a quote, and I sent him that same report and asked him to let us know when he could meet with the committee and actually physically see the space.
I would love to have the group from Middlebury also come out. They really specialize in libraries and, they might have some really interesting ideas.
Has that,
We haven't talked about that,
Oh,
but I
okay.
think maybe we should within our committee. Okay.
This is a question of ignorance, but is part of that also looking at possibly an independent means of access to this room to allow?
Oh, yeah.
This,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, it's like an addition and I can't hold on. The hope, this is the first plan, to take out this sort of almost squarish off, but not quite.
and have an entry, like garage entry, and have a door over there and a door coming here.
Okay. Well,
And he
If it-
estimated and goes through, right, and
And it-
with all of the things that we said that we would like, he was
Yeah.
estimating it enough to know that we would need a bond. This is like $1.2 million, I think he gave us.
Something like that.
yeah, well,
Anyway, but
it is a community benefit.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which brings you back to what we got about a library, but, you know, how much
Right.
do you spend before you say? Oh, that's Well, up to the board. Yeah, I also think, you know, it's a valuable conversation to have with the select board and the community and Fairfax, because
Yeah.
they're having a lot of challenges with their library. They're displaced again this summer because they have to turn the water off at the library. And they've lost a lot of patrons over the last 2 years because of all the challenges and,
Well, and even though they're back in their space, there isn't an entrance to their space.
Right.
People have to go through the high school
yeah,
to get to their, to
You
get
know,
to the library.
we're two small towns in the middle of two larger towns, and there's an economy of scale, right? And so, you know, I think it's just worth thinking about before we jump into something, right? Like, consider the possibilities, because that's a lot of money.
yeah, maybe we'll bring that up when we have a meeting for the chain. Talk
Hmm.
about that. Okay,
It's a decent discussion to have. We can't decide it, but.
No.
Right.
I still remember before the state gave us this building, we
Right.
didn't have a town library, you know, we used the St. Albans Library, so, you know, something is better than nothing, but hopefully there will be something in the offing that makes fiscal sense, I don't know what it is. Okay, anything more on the,
well,
okay, on the draft policies and update from the policy committee?
So I did some work on this afternoon. I talked to Joy Warland at the Department of Libraries yesterday. It was great to confirm, specifically what must be done by July 1st of this year. There are 3 things. Those are outlined at the top of this sheet. Number 1, we must update our policy on collection development and request for reconciliation or reconsideration, which is attached. We must ensure the rights of children ages 12 and over. We are currently doing that, and I have included an additional procedure that is recommended by the Vermont Department of Libraries, which is currently being implemented in Westford. And number 3, we need to update the current confidentiality policy to include wording that is centrally vetted legally and is recommended by the Vermont Department of Libraries, which is below. So let's start with number 3, if that's okay. Our current confidentiality policy 3.2.1 reads, refer to the policy on confidentiality of records, section 1.11. That is below in yellow, and patron records are maintained on staff computer, singular. I advise that we use the wording as recommended by the Vermont Department of Library, which again has been fully vetted. That is, the Georgia Public Library respects the right of privacy of all its patrons regarding the use of this library. Library records are protected under Vermont Statute Title 22, Chapter 4, Sections 171 through 173. And then C, refer to policy on confidentiality of records. Patron records are maintained on staff computers, plural. So that's that.
so
The next-
there is more than one.
There is
computer.
more than one staff
Okay.
computer.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay, so that's that, and so it's my understanding that we discuss at one meeting and then vote at the next. The next, thing in your packet is,
Before you move on, you said you had something else.
Oh, yeah, well, I was gonna let Bridget finish because
Okay.
she's essentially just giving everything that we've already done an introduction. So
Oh,
everything that she said so far has been
So all we have to
implemented.
do is pass this out with the vote.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, but, all right. let's
go
let the-
ahead.
Yeah.
Absolutely, finish. Okay, so the second item in your packet is, the procedure from Westford that I mentioned. And the third item in your packet is number 1, which is confusing. I highlighted, this is a letter from Catherine Delano Delnio, the Vermont Director of the Department of Libraries. And essentially, we would plug our name in where it says name of library. This has all been vetted by state legal, and we can just adopt this for our confidentiality topic.
Oh, okay.
Straightforward.
Mhm.
And as you'll see in the policy draft that we just passed out,
Yeah,
all of those have been implemented. So, in addition to some information, up on top, these changes to the current policies that are online, the only changes that have been made are implementing or inserting those 2 model policies, word from word, again, putting in the Georgia Public Library as our library. So those 2 model policies have been put into or updated in these policies. The third is replacing that children's policy with the vulnerable persons policy that was approved by the 2 boards ago, the 2023 board. So that language has also been in there. And the only other changes have been to update certain times, amounts, kind of making it more vague, getting rid of a 10-cent fee and just putting in fee, or putting in fee town facilities use policy and not, you know, reiterating any of that meat and potatoes. So essentially, we're approaching this from 3 different angles. One are those Act 150 changes, those number 1s. So that's model policy that's already been vetted by the Vermont Department of Libraries. 2, updating the children's policy, again, approved by the 2023 board. 3, those miscellaneous updates, just eliminating procedures, working with the library director to make sure everything else is up to date. So you'll see that. There have been no substantive changes, and there have been no additions of policies that are not Georgia Public. And this is important because I did reach out to Casey Keaton, our town administrator, to ask for next steps. We currently do not have a line item for legal. For legal review, if you talk to anybody in the Vermont Department of Libraries, they always say, use model policies, great. If you're going to be doing something on your own, make sure that you have a lawyer to look at them. So according to Stacy Caton, she says one or two. One, the Georgia Public Library can contact the town attorney to review at a cost that is going to be covered by the Georgia Public Library. 2, we can go to trustee vote to ask the select board, and then if we want this to be reviewed legally. Then the Georgia Public Library trustee chair requests the select board to add it to the agenda, and then they vote whether or not the town will pay a fee for the attorneys to review this. However, getting around that would be, we don't make any changes, we just update and put in model policies. So that's kind of, we can avoid the whole legal review or asking for legal review, which is why the policy committee didn't make those substitutions. We didn't make additions. We just tweaked, well, we don't need floppy disks in here anymore. We changed mobile phone to cell phone. You know, so little insubstantial changes, but there was no substantial changes. So I know in the second page of this introduction, I kind of gave a little timeline, so to speak. Again, anything introduced can be discussed, but we cannot vote. So as of today, our clock starts. We can schedule a special trustee meeting in the near future, 1 to 2, 3 weeks, to everyone take an opportunity to go through, compare it to something else. Again, we don't want to make those substantive changes if we have to pay for them. And then we come back to vote. If we can vote by 6/18, our regularly scheduled June meeting, these can be complete by July 1st. I don't know, if we kind of changed this letter around. It's been discussed, you know, in the future that we do an overhaul of these policies, which is not just tweaking them and updating them, but just changing our mission statement, changing the different policies, reintroducing maybe some different model policies, which would be great, but that's something that we can do without a deadline so that we can really put a focus on it and also contact the community and get them involved in that. So we're not talking about this big, let's change everything.
Right, let's just.
Let's
that-
just
that's something
talk
that needs
about-
happening,
right.
Yeah.
And because we can certainly pass just those two parts or three if you want to add the two model policies that are necessary for Act 150 compliance or the vulnerable persons policy. But I feel like we really did a lot of work on just tweaking it so it says, you know,
Yeah.
a they, them, which I know you said just patron, which we can maybe do in the next iteration, or maybe we decide at our special meeting to change that. But, you know, we really went through it to make sure that we're getting rid of the fluff, we're getting rid of procedures that nobody needs to know who needs keys for the building, you know, things of that nature. So yeah,
Make sure they were they were the same, because some were written a little bit different that related to the same thing over here, and it was, you know, it just needs to be consistent. Yeah, so we just
I love that
kept for consistency.
Bridget, all of Bridget's work really does combine with ours. Yeah, we've taken into consideration all of this, so this is in here. So, I guess
So there's nothing that we need to vote on, right?
No.
We can't vote on it this time. So, you know,
Because it's not complete.
I'm just seeing this now, and it signs the committee. I thought we discussed earlier that I'm part of the committee, so, you know, I guess,
Unfortunately, if I remember correctly, which maybe I'm not, but I remember that you sent a letter saying that you no longer needed to be part of the committee to us. And, you know,
we can
So
talk
we-
about
but we
that in
can-
executive session. I think it's more
Okay.
appropriate there. And that's not what I said in my letter.
okay.
all of that aside, substantively, I feel very confident with this. Not only with the work that we've been given, but I feel like it's very accurate to the Act 150 changes. And I know that, you know, updating anything online right now would be welcome, just so everyone in the community, you know, we can certainly, of course, change a lot of this again in the future. Nothing's gonna be perfect.
Right.
It's not gonna be
Right.
perfect. But we're gonna be complying with that deadline by July 1st.
Yep.
And it no longer says that, you know, CPU drive and,
Right.
or have
Don't
links,
bring a floppy disk.
Right,
You don't have floppy disks available.
or have links to, old policies that don't go anywhere. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
I do have a concern about the personnel policies, including, job descriptions. I don't think that's a place.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think, oh,
Sorry. That, can we, couple things. First thing, can you just tell us exactly which parts we need to be looking at to vote on for the Act 150? That was it, okay. And then
and
the
you'll,
personnel policy, I think it's gonna be, we're gonna have to have a bigger discussion about that, because that was also spoken about at the select board
Right.
meeting last night.
Right.
About whether or not we are under the town personnel policy, or we're gonna have our own personnel policy, and what that, so I think that's gonna be a bigger discussion than.
So really, we're only gonna give people,
We're just looking at the things that we need to fix,
well,
By
or
July.
make, or have done by
Well, here-
July 1st.
but what's up on the website right now is the 2016.
Right, I know, yeah,
Properties.
so
So
in, yeah.
this would just update those ones, the Act 150.
you have it right there.
The vulnerable person.
So
Simply
time- timeline wise, this is an introduction to
Yep.
all of the board members,
Yep.
so that, right, so that you guys
No,
have what you need to be studying until our next meeting.
Right,
It was my suggestion that we hold a special meeting where we only talk about this, so we've got all the time in the world, and we're not burdened by, let's get to a deadline of
Yeah,
other
yeah.
agenda items.
yep,
So again, this is just an overview and introduction. it's our hope that, you know, we can schedule that special meeting and then discuss all of those points, because you're right, you just got this, you want to look it over, you want to have those questions.
And we had looked at what you had given us the last time,
Right.
so, yeah.
Yeah, and then
So-
pretty much the only thing is, a lot of section 1 was changed. I don't think there has been any changes to sections 2 through 4. Only those suggestions by our library director were implemented. No other changes were given. And of course, section 5 again is the bylaws, and those were not included in the update because those were updated in February.
And we just need to worry about for the next meeting, the Act 150 stuff.
Right.
Do we need
Yeah,
to schedule
or-
another special meeting to do that now? We're scheduling
Yeah.
June 18th, right?
Right,
No,
I think
no.
before June 18th, we should meet to just go over this. And then once all those changes are kind of agreed upon, then we can vote at the June 18th meeting.
And I do want to add, we did change one thing, that, 1.14,
For the facilities use.
because of the meeting last night, with the select board and the facilities, we took the 1.14, so 1.14,
Yeah, I get it.
was one,
Right,
that
yeah, that's
we-
why we're gonna have
that
another
we
meeting.
could, please refer to the town of Georgia facilities use policy. And then we broke out, what what was already like here.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's
And
library specific.
yeah, that was library specific, and then got rid of the lines that we felt probably are not needed because they're in the policy of the town.
But we don't even need to worry about that right now.
Nope.
Correct, I just wanted to let you know.
This is
that
Act
this is
150 for
something.
now.
Oh, okay, so Valerie,
I'm sorry, Craig, you don't wanna.
What's that?
Sorry, I just have
That's
a
okay.
question. Have you, considered making, I know, some suggestions, I've gone to a couple of meetings for the, ALA, the models that they have and their policies, and a lot of libraries are making those policies evergreen, so basically they, point to the policies of, the DLA. And so if changes are made in DLA, you don't have to go in and then, change your policy if you want to be going by the model. And you can always change that in the future.
Mhm.
The thing that I did like about that from like listening is that, policy making takes a lot of time. And that, that DLA is going to go in and make those like small changes, you know, over the next few years that like, oh, we need to update the patron, or like those little things that are done, then you don't have to have a meeting about it. But I also know that that means you're relying on the DLA, which I personally feel is a trusted resource, but I totally understand if other people are opposed to that, but I just was throwing it out there. 'cause
No,
I
that's,
heard
you mean
other-
the ALA?
No, the VLA. The VLA is who gave you the model policy. Yeah.
No, the Vermont Department of Libraries.
That's what I mean. I'm sorry. I keep saying VLA, I meant Vermont Library.
Yeah, they do. They've got a lot of great model policies, but I thought, and which if we do a bigger policy push in the future, we will absolutely follow. I just thought to change as little as possible, but to include the Act 150 changes and just kind of update, that's all we've always done here, so that in the future, the larger project can take more time and we're not on a deadline.
Oh, sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Is those two policies.
Mhm.
A lot of other libraries are making, so when going into change, just those two, the Act 150 and the collection development,
Mhm.
and making those evergreen to follow.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and then it's already vetted.
Right, and that's what we've done.
But if you just put in what they're giving you, the model,
Mhm.
then if they then change it, you have to change it.
You have to change it,
Whereas
yeah.
if you make it evergreen, you can point to, the policy, and then if the policy makes sense. But there's pros and cons to both, I just was wondering if it had been considered.
How does everyone feel about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
as
Well-
when we get
That
to
can
the
be part
bigger
of the discussion,
discussion.
yeah, for the special meeting.
Do you know who did that? Like, where would you find that, how they worded that?
Yeah, I know that South Burlington did it, and I know that they talked to, other libraries who did it as well. I can certainly tell you what the list of those are, yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, should we go ahead and schedule that additional meeting then now? That sounds like pretty important that we do that.
So, without having seen this, this is a lot for
Well, it's
anyone to
just-
digest. I recommend strongly that we look at the 3 items that we need to do for July 1st, and we are measured and considered about looking at the entire policy, and we do it correctly.
Right, and I think that's what you're
Right.
suggesting, is that we just look at the
No,
phase three
no.
now.
I said I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because here's the thing, if we just approve these 3 different things, and we don't do anything else, then our policies online to the public aren't going to be reflective of what's currently there.
I don't
So,
think we're saying we wouldn't do all the rest
No,
of this work.
no.
right, yeah. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying is, I'm sorry, is that what you were saying, is just make these 3 changes, or consider
That's what I
everything,
thought you
all of
said.
the work?
Make these 3
Yeah,
changes.
yeah.
I think that this is a manageable bite for people to digest and approve. This is all vetted by the state. I think that policies are really important, and it's really important that we get it right. And it's going to be a really lengthy conversation to discuss all the details that are included in this packet of
Yeah.
changes.
Hey, Bridget, you've been given an opportunity to give us all of your notes.
And I did, but I don't find it fact in here, which is really odd to me.
All of the, anything in red is tracked. It doesn't differentiate who made those. So by all means, if we have a meeting in the next 2 or 3 weeks, that will give us plenty of time to go through and make those notes. Otherwise, I feel as though, we're doing a really disservice to our community, because we've worked really hard on this. We didn't make any substantive changes. It's just minor details. And I really feel our community is deserving of all of the hard work that we've already put in on this. And I don't think it's a lot to ask the trustees to go through these pages and make this decision.
So while I don't disagree with you that a lot of work has been done, and I know for me personally, it's the last 4 weeks of school.
Yes.
And I have meetings and evening things almost every night for the next 4 weeks. So that's why, when you said we just need, in your timeline, that we needed to do those 3 things, that I was like, oh, well, that's doable.
Yeah,
That
and
we
those
can-
3 things have been in there in addition to just the other minor unsubstantive updates.
Right, well, you had given us this last time, and we haven't actually had a chance to talk
Okay,
about
so
that yet
a month,
either.
right, but hopefully a month ago, you were able to go through everything and already form a lot of notes on that or ideas on that, because the only thing that's changed.
And we
good.
have, and
But
I'm sure that we
students see
all have.
Because we have had this warning for about a year, and this has been going through every month. So again, a lot of hard work has gone into this, and I think our public, the community, deserves something better than 2019 or 2016 information up on the website.
And I
Yeah.
agree with you there.
So, and I think if we can get
This
through
is
it,
only my
right.
3rd meeting, so I haven't been on this for an entire year. So this is what, I'm looking through this, and I know that each time we look through it, we find more things to talk about and more things to discuss, and I understand we don't want to take up too much time now. But a special meeting, I don't think is gonna be a quick special meeting, even though we think that.
Oh, I don't think it can
Should
be
be.
quick, but it definitely can be done. Again, if we don't agree on some of these minor changes, all of the original information is still going to be on that website. So a lot of outdated information is going to be on the website. So if we have an opportunity to say, okay, this says we're following these facilities, and we know that that's changed, and we have the changes already made, I don't understand why we wouldn't go through them as a trustee board to make those changes to update it.
Well, I think we can schedule a meeting to address this, but to prejudge whether we can finally agree on everything or
It's
not.
gonna be another
It's another
story.
thing.
You're right. Thank you, Kate. Okay.
So why don't we go ahead and schedule that meeting, and let's plan on at least doing what needs to be taken care of before June 18th, and possibly going beyond that, but, you know, without,
By July 1st, yeah.
Right.
Like, so, yeah.
But we want to have a special meeting before June 18th, which is our next trustee meeting.
right. So
I
that's,
can't do next week,
okay,
So long as we have a quorum, we can,
meet without,
great.
okay.
How about the 11th?
I can't do that one, Keith.
June,
Mhm.
I'm available. I don't know what the,
Wait, when are you?
wait, when are you gone? I don't want you,
Oh,
The
right.
22nd.
22nd.
Oh,
I'm
so yeah,
available
we're
the week of
on,
June 2nd,
June 2nd?
yep,
Okay,
except
I'm
for
available.
Thursday and Friday.
that is a Monday,
I am June.
Wait, when?
22nd.
I could do June,
June 2nd,
June,
that's.
it's a Monday.
Might be-
Is that,
yeah.
that's like 3 days
Yeah.
from now.
That's,
Oh, yeah, that doesn't give you guys
No.
enough time.
No.
Okay. And it's Memorial Day weekend. Oh,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
no, that's this week.
Right.
I know, I was thinking about next week, but that's
When is
this
he in
week,
School.
13th,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm gone for, then I have swim service for 4 days, and then I'm gone for a week for,
good, much needed,
behavioral conference. No, it's not, no, fine.
Could you, to help be part of it, if we do it the week of the ninth?
you can
for the
get it
voting
to
on-
Without me,
But-
yes, I can
but
absolutely.
No, that, and
I can
all your
absolutely do that.
comments, so we can have that as part of it?
Yep. There are some, there are periodic openings, just
I
keep throwing
worry
out.
though that if we have to vote on a policy and there's a 2-2 type of thing, how do we deal with that?
Right,
It'd be better to have all five of us
Yeah,
here.
I agree.
And we'd have to call another meeting.
Right.
Because we'd have to
so keep
pass
throwing dates
something.
out unless.
Well, we have
unless
something
we
that
can
can
pass.
pass.
Yeah, but that's.
It doesn't for me.
It doesn't give enough time to really,
It's a week, it's a week and a half from now, June 2nd.
I'm retired, I'm easy.
Mostly, yeah, I'm gone that.
Or
week.
June 3rd, or June 4th.
Yeah.
yeah, I
I'm not-
can't
I'm not
do
here.
either of those, but I
Right.
can do 11th, 12th, 9th.
I could do the 9th.
Oh,
The
June
ninth, ninth is
Ninth.
good.
9th works.
9th.
Everyone else?
Going
ninth?
once, going twice.
The 9th.
Good. What time for you before 45?
Nope, I could be here earlier. I can leave school at 3:30 on Wednesday.
Oh. Does earlier work for other people?
I could be here by 4.
4.
4?
What, you want to do four?
Old. I'm good with that.
Here at the library.
How beautiful.
So I'll warn that as a special meeting, but it'll still be the one. I'm missing the track meet and, my daughter came in second, but did qualify for state.
Oh. And then I think if we have some issues with these policies, we could just go ahead and do this.
We'll have to vote on it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we'll
But,
discuss,
but if,
yeah,
but if for some reason there are lots of issues and we can't,
But we can get
whatever,
this done.
we can at least get that part done.
right, we,
Yeah.
At the very least.
It has to be
I
discussed at
understand.
one meeting and then voted on the next. So have we discussed this at this meeting?
Well,
So that
no,
it
the
can be passed
discussion
at the
was-
next?
No,
if
the
we have
discussion
to?
would
we
happen
still
at
have
the
to go.
9th, and
So
then
the vote would be
happen
on the 18th.
Oh,
okay.
yes, we
Well,
still
we
have
have
that
time.
meeting.
Yeah.
If for whatever reason no vote passes, we still have 2 weeks until July 1st to schedule as many meetings as needed. So
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
I'll be
if
out of
we-
the country.
If we at least could get the things that need to be done by July 1st.
Right.
And I am not disagreeing with you that we need to update that
Yeah.
policy on the
Yeah.
website, not
Yeah.
at all.
Well, at least we got the meeting scheduled and discussion.
And, so we're good with this. One of the things that, was discussed last night was whether or not the trustees would follow the policies of the town. We have to follow the,
Which we signed.
yep. but I think it was also discussed last night that we could have our own policies, but I think I, for one, think we should go straight with with our own policies, but then also use the town policies for, obviously, facilities, because it's their building,
Mhm.
for personnel, and for different policies, I guess there.
I like that, because then all of the vetting is done by their attorneys, and all the liability from anything coming from that is on the town.
I mean, we
Yeah.
can still have our own personnel policy that
As long as
just
they don't,
addresses other
yeah,
things.
addresses things that are.
It's specific to the library.
Right. Right.
Okay.
So I don't know if we have to vote on that,
Mm-mm, no,
no?
no, because their policy hasn't even passed yet,
Oh.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So for informational purposes, that's what I'm talking about.
right,
Well, good.
and I'm sure
glad
this
It
discussion
was,
was
it was great,
Good.
good, it was a good meeting.
It was a good meeting.
very good meeting.
Okay, well, good, we've got that meeting set. Roles and responsibilities of trustees, select board, town, and is there further discussion that needs to happen in this area?
I think that would be in executive.
Exactly.
Let's
Well, I know, yeah, just, for clarification's purposes, I know that, the whole discussion had started at the last meeting for roles and responsibilities when it came to trustees, what we're responsible for, select board,
Mhm.
the town, and what the library director, and it really is very, a symbiotic relationships, but at the same time, you know, we're really beholden to the town when it comes to our finances and things. So I know that discussion had started, and I know, we did receive some additional information via email afterwards. I know when it comes to communication, we can definitely introduce ideas, and we can definitely, coordinate meetings and things over email. But, for anything substantive discussion, and especially anything, any votes, any decisions are made, it has to be during a one meeting. So I know that was part of, my requesting a special meeting, to discuss this issue, just because it had gotten heated over email, so to speak. So I know that never came to fruition. But I know that there was a lot of questions as to, you know, as a library director, what am I in charge of? As trustees, where are, you know, what's our wheelhouse, et cetera. And I know something else, that was discussed in the past that we can certainly, talk about again as a memo of understanding, which I believe other libraries do, which really in writing says, this is what select board is responsible for. This is what the trustees are responsible for. And given that the new personnel policy that has yet been passed by the town mentions, as trustees, we have to, in writing, opt into what services we want, from the town, presenting a memo of understanding to the select board that says, okay, here's everything you're gonna be doing, we're opting into this, but at the same time, we're recognizing this is all of the responsibilities for the library director, and this is everything that the trustees are doing as well. So, just for the public to know, before we go into executive session to discuss this, kind of the root of that agenda item, and where we're kind of coming from. I do know, given specifics, or general, okay, specifics can be in executive session, but if we're talking about a chain of command, we can certainly do that in open session.
Oh,
Can I ask, I mean, from last night, from the meeting, is this what you understood? Or am I wrong? So the select board and the board of trustees are peer boards. They are on the same level.
you know,
I don't think so.
That's a
Right.
that's in
Vermont
state statute.
So you remember the draft that I did a couple months ago of the org chart for the town of Georgia? In that org chart, the board of trustees and the select board are peer boards. The library trustees, per Vermont state statute, have full responsibility for what happens inside the library. The select board is responsible for the facility, right? But anything that happens within the library, policies, that's the purview of the trustees, so
Yeah, we're
they are
both-
on the same level.
Mhm.
So we're on the same
Non-advisory
level
boards.
then.
I'm sorry. They're two standalone.
Right.
Yeah, we're both non-advisory boards and we're both voted in by the trustees.
This way it goes side by side, even though.
I think they meant.
Yes, because you have.
No, but.
The board of trustees.
It's hard to get a visual on this.
Well, I'm not.
What about the raspberry part?
Then you would work with.
All right.
Awesome. For handling the employees of the library. So would it go this? You have Tom Georgia, select board, the library trustees, they both come down to. Your both have a responsibility, so what, okay,
Who put this together?
I did.
Oh,
That's- I
with
just
any,
asked.
wait, with any input from the town office?
Just from what I heard last night, this is not an official document.
No, I understand that. I just wondered if you had the input from the town office.
Got it from the meeting. From the meeting, she was trying.
Well, I didn't get that the
draw-
board of trustees chair is library director. As a matter of fact, they said,
No, that's, yeah.
Is that, and he's right here,
he's the department head, he's not the library director.
Where's the library?
I mean, I wrote that down.
The library is from.
Right, so we start with a picture and then we just color new lines.
Yeah, but I mean, so last night, I think it was asked of the board, to specify, department head.
Mhm.
And what I understood from your conversation was that the department head for the library is the chair of the trustees.
Right.
And that the trustees. I'm gonna go quick.
Okay, let me read this, let me finish your.
Right, so last night, it was my understanding that the department head of the library is the chair of the trustees. The department head
Is not the chair of the trustees.
is the trustees,
The chair is, the chair of the trustees
is,
is the department head.
right,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
That's what.
Did I just say?
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
That's it.
I don't know, think what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, and then the trustees have, control over the money that you give us, we represent that money as
Correct.
best we can.
Yeah.
The library director,
Mhm.
and we hire the librarian.
Correct.
Or the library.
Library.
director.
Yep. Yep.
The library director does the hiring and the whatever else,
Yeah, per year.
and operates, the library.
Mhm.
That's what I got from,
That's per your, I mean, if you read some of the online stuff at the Vermont Library
Yeah.
Association,
Yeah.
some of the trustees actually have input into hiring library staff as well.
right,
Again, that's.
they
their
can
purview.
have, or they, it's not in our
Yeah, they don't
bylaws
have
to do that.
That had to be, would have to be. the-
Yeah, you don't have to, so if you're saying that is your, that your director.
Correct. Correct,
That's, yeah,
okay,
but it could be both, I mean.
yeah, it could be the way it's done.
Right.
Yeah, okay,
So arguing about who is the library director?
You are.
no,
Yeah,
no, the
no.
library director
not
is
library
Bridget.
director.
Library
Department head.
department.
You're the department head,
Sorry.
Oh, great, okay. But I didn't think of myself as a library director.
No, you're not the director.
Okay.
okay,
all
we
right.
got it.
Oh, this is what I created in March and asked if we could
Oh,
have reviewed by Stacy, the town administrator, and my understanding is that Pauline shared it with Stacy, and I haven't heard back any feedback on this.
oh,
I've never.
So this was started a couple months ago.
can we share in that?
Great, thank you.
Details might be the part of the.
Done.
Sorry.
Oh,
sorry.
Yep. So, he's the, yeah, he's the part that has the library. Right.
The part, not one of them.
Remind me to bring them with us.
All right. I
Mhm.
can live with that.
Mhm.
Didn't have the job description.
This is another responsibility now.
Okay.
Questions? I'm gonna leave.
You want some food?
Okay. Well, maybe three if it's, can I have a cookie, but.
Absolutely.
Whatever, but. That's for you.
Let's see, we are-
It's a parade. I'm just wondering.
No.
There's a library.
And then,
In the parade.
other question, I think you all will get to Friends of the Library tonight.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. If not, then I wanna go home and put my kiddo to bed and come back to the next one.
We
And
might,
watch the rest.
we
of
might.
it.
So,
But I wanna be.
I think that I'm gonna go off stream a little bit here. There's a lot of work already in the works for the Friends. There are people who've already said that they are interested in taking leadership and, there are limitations on how much I can support and assist with that, but I'm trying to stay on the line.
But
And,
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but, it is an agenda. So I was just wondering if we think we'll get to that.
That's the part I was interested in.
Yeah.
Actually.
oh,
Well,
okay. Well, we
maybe we
can,
should adjust
Sure,
it.
that's
Jump
my
there.
answer.
Jump that up the ladder.
Close by.
It was more like, no way that I was gonna be like,
we
oh.
can jump
We
there.
have you folks here, why don't we just jump that up the ladder and go right? Yeah, I'm fine with that. Is everyone else fine with that? Okay, so let's go to, starting at Friends of the Library.
I think Wisdom has more information than any one of us.
Yeah.
So after the article in the Messenger, I don't know, how long ago was that, 6 weeks? About Hudson Library funding. We had such a positive, outcome from the town. People were coming in, giving us donations. People were really interested in reforming the Friends of the Library. We had one gentleman who, offered to lead the organization and get it reactivated and started again.
Was he involved on the last one?
No. And we started a spreadsheet, which I think has about 15 people on it now, who are interested in being in the Friends. I have been trying to be supportive and, offer a Survey Monkey to send out of when people could get together. There's some difficulty coordinating schedules and you know how it is. So there are 2 additional people besides the original gentleman who are interested in the leadership capacity in the Friends group. And I'm trying to make sure that nobody feels slighted or like their toes are stepped on. So I'm working on it, but it's not really something that I can work on because I'm not supposed to. So, so that's, it's in the works and I'm trying to connect people is what I'm trying to do. So,
You could resurrect the last one. Or was it closed now?
so there have been 2 since I've been here. And the most the first one when I was here, I don't think ever got incorporated. Maybe it did, I don't know, but anyhow, the second one definitely was incorporated. They filed their paperwork, COVID happened, and then paperwork wasn't kept up. The person who filed the paperwork for the last group, Mindy Grange, is very happy to come in and pass the torch and explain, like, so, yeah, I think it would not be a heavy lift to resurrect what was there before and file the paperwork and get it done. And then we're eligible to apply for additional grants, which is great. I mean, it would be absolutely awesome if the Friends did some fundraising for the library, but like, what we definitely need is just that 501c3 status.
Well, too, I think a Friends of the Library would be really helpful to be part of the library in the community. So I know like with the float for the Memorial Day Parade, we can't ask staff to do it. I know a lot of the trustees are busy doing other things, so,
There's only what, 3 staff?
right.
Or-
So, yeah, I think tables, you know, for Fall Fest or gatherings on the green or town meeting day, you know, really getting out there in the public, because I think that would be great, because then they could really advertise a lot of the things that a book sale, you know, anything we would charge money for in order to raise money. Well, not we, of course, they.
Right.
Because I went through, after it became such an issue, I went through all of the different, you know, information out there on the internet, and yeah, really like the library staff and the trustees.
Can't be.
Right. It's entirely their own organization, their own way to raise money, their own, you know, finances and bank accounts and things, but working collaboratively. So I'm excited about that. So, yeah.
So,
There's some great people who are interested. I actually just saw the wife of the person who initially said he was interested this afternoon, and, I said, we need to have a face-to-face, and she said, I'll put a little bug in his ear, so, I gave my schedule, and I anticipate that he may stop by tomorrow. I don't know, but I will see if I can firm that up. It's in the front of my mind, front burger.
Excuse my question, because I'm not super familiar with the way some organizations work, but, how do you all can't help get it off the ground? How would one help get it off the ground? Like, I would love to help, and I would love to help connect Mindy to this other person, all these things, but how do I do that? Read a book about it?
yeah, you should get some information.
So it's probably gonna get the creating a 501c3 and getting it.
Yeah.
And then they get together and create their bylaws and. So I understand that part. I guess I just mean like, what's the next step? Like, I don't want it to lose momentum.
Right.
Of like, what's the next step in life?
Right.
So to be supported.
What does
We
that look like?
created
Yes.
folders for 5 folks, who are interested in getting this off the ground. So that's all the information. Would you like one, Lori?
You can take me one later.
Okay, so that's all the information. I think that, I mean, it's not my business, but, I think that the right thing to do would probably be to speak with the person who initially said that he wanted to take the lead and see if I can connect him with some other folks who have some time to, get it going initially. Yeah, and see if a meeting can be scheduled. I've done that.
Yeah, I figured you had. And then it's up to them, unfortunately. Or fortunately.
Or fortunate.
More
Yeah.
fortunate.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
If they decide to get it off the ground and have a meeting in the library, that's something we can certainly advertise. Right? Like, if
Oh,
we're-
yeah.
This
Happy
group
to.
is, yeah. So I mean, hopefully we can get the word out to everyone who's interested. If something formal comes together.
Yay.
Oh.
I think.
Sorry.
Was there any other questions?
Were you part of that last one? Oh, no, I didn't even go there.
Oh,
Okay.
you just know about it.
Great, thanks.
Thanks for bringing that out.
Yeah, we have a great one out front, a really
Oh.
wonderful relationship between them and the board, and we have a foundation as well. But, it's really great to be able to use them as a resource because you are a 2-person show, 3-person, 2.5-person show. And so to, be able to say, oh, okay, they've got this, like, this thing covered,
What's the difference between the Friends of the Library and a foundation?
good question.
Okay.
It's murky, but the foundation was specifically, it was created by someone help support the library in a specific way, like,
Okay.
and I think it was
Sort of a trust.
started, yeah, it was started with like money that was given to the library that then like, it's almost like a little committee that like took over.
Oh, okay.
And then, the Friends raised all their own money.
Mhm.
And they, at South Burlington particularly, their money is, for programming. So they donate X amount of dollars and they try to reach that goal every year for programming. So, and they have like specific, things with input from the public about like what they would like that ideas. They don't ever suggest programming, but, where that programming might, so like, for example, it might be like, we want this to be like audio visual programming. And then they get the library director and the library staff to decide like
Oh,
where
great.
that is,
Yeah,
but it's a certain, there's certain like guidelines about like what it.
Good resource
Yeah.
to do.
Mhm, absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, when friends are good, they're very, very good.
Yeah, yeah.
we got a lot of some of the grants, is it the Friends who are doing the grant writing?
No.
So South Burlington doesn't do a lot of grants.
Yeah,
And
foundations.
Yeah.
Right.
So, that is not a question for me because I do not. have
Gotcha,
experience
okay.
with that. So,
Yeah.
When it's their own organization, their own 501c3, they would apply for the grant. Yeah. With that 501c3.
With
I
Friends
think-
specific,
I think that actually, they're a pass-through for the library, so the library would write the grant and it would be under the name of the Friends in their 501c3, and then the money goes to the library.
Hmm.
I don't know about that, but.
thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, thank you for
Well,
coming.
Before you
Thank you,
leave,
Valerie.
we had a public comment thing. Were there comments from our guests tonight that you want to share with the before we go into executive session?
Do we have to do, we have to do facilities,
Oh,
which
okay.
is really kind of a non,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think Craig is the only one who wasn't able to
Yeah.
attend yesterday.
The only, thing that I had was, oh, I just looked it up, South Burlington, but, the, Friends, I'm sorry, just talking about, I just had a clarification, are all emails are public?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to, so like, if at any point anyone wanted to look at anyone's email.
You can do a FOIA request, yeah.
Yep.
Exactly, right.
all that county and storage.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Bye, Valerie.
Thank you.
Okay. Did you want to visit the facilities use policy? I know that was discussed last night. I wasn't there.
do you want us to review what they, I mean, what we're gonna do is.
We can inform you.
Inform me.
I don't know, did anybody add that to?
It's on the agenda, but I don't think that we have a copy
So
with
we don't
us
have
right
a copy
now.
of it. We're going to, we are under the town's facility. We are going to waive, the fee for nonprofits, or that's what the library is hoping to do.
Sure.
And, there is a deposit for the room, but I'd like to talk about that at some point
If we
too.
get back, if we,
Right.
They get back if they don't.
Can I have a clarification though, that you brought up last night? It was pretty emphatically stated that anybody here is only here during library hours.
Right,
So I don't understand why the tax prep people were here on Monday or before the library opens. And that was not brought up.
Yeah, I
last
think
night.
those were the ones. Sure, I'm happy to speak to that. So the tax prep people, provide an amazing service to the community. And
You flat out lied to them.
I didn't lie to
No, I
them.
don't
I
think you-
was very clear,
I disagree, but go ahead.
well, it was unintentional for sure. And I have in emails been clear about that, and I will apologize publicly if I misspoke, but it was certainly unintentional. So absolutely, yes. The folks who run the AARP tax service are upstanding citizens who people trust their most confidential financial data to, and they're amazing people who donate a lot of their time, and for many years, this is how it's been done, and, I would trust them with my financial information. I think there's nobody more trustworthy.
I would also though consider that they could, in the town building, there could be a liability. So if they came in and somebody came in with their staff or paperwork and fell,
They're not having appointments before the library is open. They're doing training
Oh, on
before
Monday.
the library is open.
okay,
And they are setting up before the library is open. Their first appointment is during library hours.
okay. That part I didn't know, but just having people in here with no staff is
How did-
a liability.
A staff member would have had to have been here though to open the door.
They had a key. I arranged for
Oh,
Ted Smith to have a key.
okay. And
Which is a liability. I don't have to know Ted, I'm just saying in general. That
What is
is-
the
that
liability?
is-
employees
that
or-
is an opening for a liability. If anything happens, it's the town's insurance.
I guess I'd love to understand that better. I don't understand how that opens us up for liability.
Anything does.
Well, he's not an employee.
Anything that,
Oh, you mean the key, are we talking the key card or the fact that he's here?
The
fact that he's
has a
here.
key card and has access.
So I believe Stacy ran that by the select board and I,
He didn't run it by the select board. Sorry.
when was, it would have been,
Oh, that was in March.
it would have been
Oh,
years.
Sorry, your policy.
Right, yeah, right.
I can
So that's what we-
find that chain of emails, but it was, I mean, I'm not sure what your suggestion.
And concern, that's all. And
well, I think, yeah, once the new policy is passed and the library adopts, well, we really don't have a choice when because it's their building. We'll just have to make sure that we comply with those.
or in your whatever, you have stated this particular group during February to April 15th provides this and they come in early to
Right.
set up,
Oh, we have to spell it out, yeah.
something like that. But if they have a key that they could use at will,
They're not though.
well, but I'm just saying, I'm just
It won't always
throwing
be.
it out there.
Somebody.
Because
It is a.
No, right, I'm just saying, so I volunteer with AARP people, not here, but in Connecticut, and I work for CBO down in St. Albans, so I do taxes. I would suggest that you just have them come in at library hours and start their first appointment a half hour later. Just to save yourself that hassle of having someone here on the premises when no other, because they're not an employee. They're not insured by, it's covered by the town. You just open yourself for this kind of thing. And
I
again,
can take that.
you hope that nothing happens, of
Right.
course,
Right.
but that would be my recommendation.
Heard, thank you.
Okay.
Well, we've already planned our next meeting, a special meeting. We've got our regularly scheduled meeting June 18th. Do we have other agenda items that we need to put on the agenda for next month?
We have to go to executive session, or are we gonna go, you just want to get ahead of that?
Because it's after.
Yeah.
Get that out of the
Yeah.
way before we.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next, I mean, I think the next time, under old business, it would be, again, policies, I'm not sure how you want to word that. Background checks,
Oh, yeah. The fair hiring practices thing came up. I don't know if that's something we want to talk about.
I'm sure, do you have anything on the agenda for the revitalization committee? We keep that on.
you can always keep it
Yeah,
up
okay.
there, sure. but, and we can report as we have it.
If there's time, we could always put that appreciation potluck reflection back.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so. There's nothing else, and I guess we can go into executive session.
Mm-hmm.
We have to read what.
You have to read
this
this
little
thing.
doodad.
Yeah.
Oh, I do, so, hold on.
Well, I think what we were looking for was like. She said,
Yeah.
so we had nothing, we didn't get anything back.
Okay.
So maybe if you want to look at it and go back.
I didn't know we need to put,
This one?
I did the, Bridget did that, yeah. I didn't think we needed all the extra for our board, that, I was just trying to put our board down there.
We're looking for a clear chain of command, I guess.
Organizational chart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And who reports to who and the hot, as you work things out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
Trying to.
because I do interface with other departments, it's helpful for me to know, right, and other entities like the Historical Society, Conservation, et cetera. It's nice to, I think it's a good thing, right, for the organization to have. Yeah.
And it's different topics, are gonna go different ways, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And just so you know, there are some errors on this side, like the town administrator doesn't oversee any of the DRB or planning, they're their own.
Right.
Well, and that's why Stacy was
Right.
gonna look at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. That's interesting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, can you see it?
Executive session. Pursuant to VSA
Thank you for coming.
3:23,
Only one group.
3:13.
What
I don't have my glasses. I would entertain
FYI, just was,
Yes.
I'm on the state board of Vermont, but I mentor Vermont.
Hmm.
They do provide grants for 501c3s.
Oh.
And if you had, and one of the things that I've been trying to spearhead in Franklin County is libraries.
Hmm.
Because libraries provide a lot of after-school things
Yeah,
for
yeah.
children.
Mm-hmm.
And if that became a part of, you know, if you had a friend with a library, you could apply. They get state funding. They have like $1 million budget that comes down, and they do various organizations through schools, but through communities.
Oh, okay. What's the name of that?
FYI,
Wonderful.
on future,
What's the name of that?
thank you, Metro Vermont. Thank you.
Thank you so much for
Thank you
being
for coming.
here.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you.
You
Oh,
too. Thanks.
Don't be close.
Yes, please. Okay, okay.
I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session to discuss, I guess,
Personnel.
policies and personnel and,
Well,
role
Rockford,
which I wish I brought my glasses.
here, let's premature.
Well, thank you.
Here, reading glasses, thank you. I hope I don't stretch them out.
No, you'll be fine.
There we go. Which premature disclosure or discussion may be detrimental to the board in itself and or individuals involved. I move that we enter into executive session to discuss personnel and policy issues with,
The board.
the board and the library director.
And Bridget.
Under the provision of Title I, Section 313A, TA of the Vermont statute. Time is now 7:13.
That's wait, so I second the motion?
No,
No, you don't have to do that.
You make them.
I entertain a motion.
So I make a motion, and we go into executive session.
Okay.
I second. All right, there we go.
All those in favor? say
I want
aye.
to preface before we go that
Yeah.
we should stick to only that which we are able to discuss in executive session. Anything that goes into something that's for the public, we should exit and we can, and add it to the agenda for next time. Any
Fine with me.
problems with that? Well, as soon as we're all in favor.
Oh, I think we did, right? All
I
in favor?
did, I think everyone's,
Yeah.
all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
No, I
You're ending
perfectly
things.
didn't.
Okay.